Jim here with Prevelo Bikes, and today I'm going to show you how to convert your BALANCE-TEC equipped bike from a pedal bike to a balance bike. Alright, so we want to start by removing the chain guard. Okay, so the chain guard has 3 bolts. So there's 1 bolt at the rear of the chain guard and then 2 bolts at the front. So we're going to start by removing the bolt at the rear. So you can grab your multi-tool and then you're going to want to locate the 3mm hex key on the multi-tool. So that's this hex key here. And then just unscrew that rear bolt. You really just have to get it started with the wrench, and then you can unthread it by hand. And just set that aside. All right, so we're ready to remove the front 2 bolts. So both the front bolts are located on the back side of the chain guard, so there's one on the top and one on the bottom. So these are the same size as the screw on the rear, so just get your 3mm hex key again, and then remove the 2 bolts. And you can pull off the chain guard. Okay, so this next step we can do either with the pedals on or off. It doesn't make a difference. Okay, so you're going to grab your 8mm hex key. You may also have a 6mm hex key with an 8mm adapter. Either one will work just fine. Now we're going to remove the crank itself. So in the center of the crank is the bolt for the 8mm. So load your wrench in there, and these bolts are usually pretty tight, so you might have to find a good place to grab on or get some leverage. So I'm just going to hold my crank with my left hand and then loosen this, and it broke free. And then you loosen it, and then it'll hit tension again. So that tension is because the arm actually is press fit on, so it needs to be pulled off. So in most cases on most bikes there's a crank puller and a specialized tool to do this, but one of the benefits of this system is the puller is built into the arm itself. So now you're going to basically extract the crank, so it's going to be hard to push for a second, and then it will start to ease up, and as it eases up you'll see the crank arm start to actually come off and then drop out of the way. So now we're going to remove the other arm. It's the same process on the left side as it is the right side. Okay, then just set your cranks aside. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and remove the chain. So just to get the chain out of the way for a cleaner working space, I like to sit it on the spindle just so it's not just hanging around. And then to actually take it off the bike, we're going to remove this black key here. So to remove the key, get your multi-tool, select the 4mm hex key, and then we're just going to remove these 2 bolts. Okay, and then the key just pops out. And then just go ahead and lift your chain. So you might have to kind of move it around that chain guard bracket in the rear, and then it will just slide right through the frame. So if you're having a hard time sliding it through the frame, there are thicker and thinner portions of the chain links. So just line up the thinner portion and it will slide right through. Okay. So with the chain removed, just go ahead and put the key back in the frame. And that's it, chain is removed. All right, so now we're ready to install our foot pegs. So I like to flip the bike upside down like this. It makes it so you can easily access these 2 threaded holes on the bottom of the bottom bracket shell. So those threaded holes are gonna line up with this arm on the foot peg. So go ahead and grab your first foot peg, slide it onto the bottom bracket, and then you just wanna line it up with one of those holes, and then grab one of the smaller screws from the kit, and then just finger tighten that into there. Okay, you don't want to tighten the screw yet because you still want to tighten up the compression bolt, and the foot peg can slide in and out, so you don't want to tighten that down until this is already tight. So grab one of your 8mm compression bolts and your 8mm hex key, and then we're just going to tighten that into there. Now this bolt doesn't have to be crazy tight, it's just enough to hold the foot peg on. So get that tight. And then grab your 3mm again, and use it to tighten down that bolt to stop the foot peg from rotating. And then just go ahead and repeat this process on the other side. Nice, you successfully converted a pedal bike into a balance bike. Now I just have 2 more tips for you. So first, all the parts that you remove to take this from a pedal bike to a balance bike, you don't want to lose those parts because at some point you're going to want to make this into a pedal bike again. So that parts box that came with the bike with the owner's manual and the tools and that stuff in it, it's a great place to store the parts just so that you don't lose them. And then the small screws for the chain guard, I actually just went ahead and reinstalled those screws and tightened them all the way in. If you don't tighten them all the way in, they can rattle out and lose them, but this is the ideal place to store the screws so that you don't lose them in a small bag or something like that. All right, that's it. Enjoy. Thanks for choosing Prevelo. Take care.